In one of the narrow alleys off the heart of Turin, where the heavy aroma of coffee mingled with the alabaster smoke of cigarettes, Dino Segre, better known by his pen name Pettigrelli, sat behind a small window overlooking a deserted piazza. He wrote, as he always did, with a half-filled glass of wine, his eyes restless and barely fixed on a line. Those were years of internal erosion, in which one had to choose not only between right and wrong, but also between a life that might be lost and a conscience that might never be restored. Pettigrelli was a master writer, the kind who captivates with a sentence and pierces with style like a dagger. His novel Cocaine shook the Italian cultural establishment not only because it was a great novel, but also because it seemed like a manuscript born of the night, erotic, frenzied, and shamelessly honest. But he was not just a writer. He was the son of that incurable rupture, a Jew who converted to Catholicism, a bourgeois who claimed to rebel, cynical about everything, and then, when fear overcame him, a traitor who barely blinked. In 1931, consumed by his addiction, debt, and deepening isolation, he reached out to the institution he had ridiculed in his articles, the fascist secret police, the OVRA. No one knows the exact moment when he broke internally, but what is certain is that this hand, which had always written against discipline and censorship, was now writing reports, not articles. He sat in the back corners of cafes, listening attentively to the tables of intellectuals exiled within their homeland, those who had resisted Mussolini with words, and whose names he had recorded on cheap paper with ink more precious than their blood. He knew them, their weaknesses, their fears, and knew that his voice, when he narrated them in a report, carried the tone of a narrator, not an informant. One evening, after submitting a report that got one of his former colleagues arrested, he sat in front of his mirror and reread a passage from his old novel. More dangerous than a drug addict is a fearful man, because a fearful person doesn't seek salvation, but rather safety, even if it's in a hellhole. And he smiled. That night, he didn't write a new report. He didn't drink. He didn't read. He just sat and stared at himself for a long time, until his features blended with those of his victims. Years later, when the fascists had fallen and Italy was once again sorting out the chaos of its memory, Pettigrelli's name was neither forbidden nor beloved. His books remained on the shelves, but people whispered when his name was mentioned, as if they were whispering about a betrayal whose perpetrator had not been punished but had lived on, writing, translating, and being reprinted.